if we built the organic matter in our soils, even 1% increase, which is not easy to do, but a 1% increase in organic matter in the soils, that would take all of the carbon out of the atmosphere that we've put in there, and it would build fertility and increase crop yield at the same time. This is carbon sequestration. And a buddy of mine started a company called Carbon Farmers of America. And when the tax credits kick in for carbon tax, those farmers that work with him, showing measurable increase in soil organic matter by their farming methods, will actually get paid for sequestering that carbon. Agriculture is also the biggest user of water and land on this planet, and I was speaking earlier today at the Community Futures Conference, and they were talking, the guy before me said, you should never really talk about death when you're talking to a group of people. I'll just mention it slightly. This food system of ours, and the way we eat, is killing us. And it's not just E. coli and salmonella as examples of that, but it's heart disease and diabetes. In fact, 70% of people alive in the United States today will die from a diet-related illness. 70%. Wasn't food supposed to be the thing that made us healthy? So here we are with this food system now that is literally destroying our planet, this beautiful place, and it's not serving us as people in our health at all. And many of you are probably from rural areas, and you know what happens as agriculture consolidates and small farms leave and bigger farms happen, and then the cheese plant that was small got big and then it left. All those things happen. And Wendell Berry talks about the sucking sound out of rural communities. The intelligence, the money, the jobs. And so culturally, this food system is not serving us, and socially, it's not serving us at all. So, at least in my sort of very agricultural-centric worldview, our solutions to these problems lie in the food system as well. Not just with climate change and carbon sequestration and things like that, but in rethinking and remaking how we grow food, how we move food around, how we eat food. And I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but the challenge that I think a lot of people face is, what does that exactly look like? Where are the examples? And you probably have some really good examples around here. I know you've got thriving pieces of your food system, and then there's others that you want to improve. And then there's big problems that you're trying to face and deal with. We have all of the same things. The good, the medium, the bad. But Hardwick has gone through this transformation when a bunch of back-to-the-landers moved up in the 70s, along with the strong work ethic of the Vermonters that lived there already, and created this fertile ground for alternative agriculture and alternative business and creative thinking. And even as long as 10 or 12 years ago, we had more organic farms per capita than anywhere else in the world. So our town is 3,000 people. Surrounding towns each have about 1,000. And that's, Hardwick's the big town around there. Vermont in general has about 600,000 people in the whole state, and it's about 3 hours of a drive north and south and an hour and a half east and west, just to kind of give you a sense. It's a pretty small little spot. It's kind of like your valley, probably. And so with that number of people, and with the small scale of agriculture that you have to do in the mountainous region where we are, it has been an area that has been passed over from big farms. There are no big farms. It's actually been passed over for big towns. The biggest town in Vermont is 40,000 people. This is the most rural state in the U.S. So what we've got is a very interesting dynamic of a very progressive state of rural people dispersed all around with a lot of support locally for local produce, local grains, local meats, all of that. And fortunately, I know you guys have some policy challenges here around meat, especially recently, and other things. But fortunately in Vermont, we've actually been able, on a state level, to get some regulations in place that basically give exemptions to some small scale of producers, so that they aren't forced to go through some very onerous and expensive things that basically would do the same thing that happened here. People would shut down. And infrastructure and services that you guys have relied on for various things would be lost. So sending all of your meat from here over to Alberta to have it sent back is kind of crazy and expensive. And that means there's jobs somewhere else that are getting generated by that, plus extra cost associated with it. So you know those stories. I'm glad to tell you that there's some hope out there on the policy side too. At least the tough battles that we've been fighting have been working in the States. About 10 years ago, a number of these small agricultural businesses in our town, not just the farmers, but actual producers, who were processing products from their own farms and from other people, turning it into new products and selling it. Lightly processing, not something, super complicated, but growing soybeans and instead of selling them as feed or on the commodity market, turning them into tofu and soy milk. And then that producer said, wow, okay, I've got this system down. Now I'll get some soybeans, not just from my farm, but from some other farms around here. So let's train other people on how to grow soybeans and to make it actually economically viable to do it. I know soybean growers in the Midwest United States that are not making a living growing 5,000 acres of soybeans. So there's some folks in Vermont that they're making a good chunk of their income growing many fewer acres because it's going to such a high-end market and it's staying within the state. And that's all built into the brand. Vermont-grown soybeans into Vermont tofu or soy milk, things like that. Of course, tofu is coming from Vermont. You guys probably get teased for things from here too. But everybody thinks Vermont is just a bunch of hippies. And it's, how many granola companies there must be in the state kind of jokes. There are a few, but it's an interesting state because the people are conservative in some ways and liberal in others. They're very independent-minded, but very progressive in their ability to communicate and collaborate and work together as a community. And Hardwick had been passed over by so much development. Nothing has happened there. No new jobs, no new businesses. The storefronts have been half empty. And now they're full. Downtown buildings that were falling apart are getting bought and restored. People are actually running for public office, competing against each other for it. And this is like for town select board, the most thankless job. No money, lots of work, and it's like pulling teeth generally to get folks here, but now people are actually competing. And it's because of this agricultural revival that is inspiring a lot of folks. So what we've got now is this group of, probably, just in the 8-town area, you all probably picked up these flyers. You see this thing on the center that says Hardwick in the middle and it has these towns around it. So in those 9 towns, there's probably about 150 organic farms. And that region geographically is about 20 miles across. To give you an idea. So it's a pretty small region for that many organic farms. And it's close to about 25% of the workforce now is involved in value-added agriculture and growing. So just in the last 3 years, there's been 125 jobs added to the 400 jobs that existed in the town 3 years ago. So that's a 25% increase as well. And it's going well. It's going quite well. In fact, this last recession that we have been in and are still in